Hello, YouTube. Once again, it's Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, joining you for another edition of the NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. This is post week 2, and what a week 2 it was, as we've got some big movers in this list this time around. Week 1's rankings had a little bit of controversy. These will be a little bit more straightforward, I think, based on what happened in week 2. Um, we got, first of all, I'm going to go over a little bit of the background here of what all happened. The biggest gainers this week are the Raiders, the Bears, the Chargers, the Rams, and the Chiefs. Now, how much did they go up? Well, we'll have to find out, but those are the top 5 gainers. The biggest losers were the Patriots, the Packers tier, Texans, Titans, and Bills. So if you're any one of those 5 teams, yeah, you had a rough week. So the platform race, Xbox, not too many Xboxers anymore, but they went 4-2, and that's not bad. PlayStation was 7-6, so they were right around 500, and the PC was underwater this week at 5-8. So overall, very competitive this week in week 2. Very pleased with some of the performances that were put out there, and you should be proud of that. Everybody got their game in, and the league is up and running here. But as is, I'm going to try to be a little bit more punctual with my updates. This week, last week, kind of got away from me with some outside league activities and things of that nature. It's just life, but I had these ready over the weekend, and it just was a matter of getting a window of time to get these things announced. So as it is, we're going to get going right off the bat with the Polecat Panthers of Carolina. They're down 4 spots this week after losing at home to New Orleans, 27-23. 0-2 now go the Panthers in the NFC South, and next they're going to take on the Seattle Seahawks on the road. So this season just keeps getting better for Polecat. Love having him in the league. He always is looking to improve the league. He always gives me good ideas. Uh, the Wednesday schedule was his idea, which I can't take credit for. I'm looking forward to having him in baseball again, as I know he's Atlanta for that. So really excited that he comes to play every week, and yeah, maybe the results aren't quite there, but he's always going to give it the old Carolina try, and you got to give him credit for that. And he's on the PC too, so it's and I think he's a mouser, so that's another thing. It's like a lot of strikes going up against him, but he keeps playing, and that's why I love the guy. As we now go to number 31, speaking of another mouser and another PC guy, it's a guy we're not used to seeing down at this end of the Brit rankings list. It's the New York Giants of Tag Rocket. Nicest guy you'd ever want to talk to on a stream or talk to anywhere. But he's 0-2 right now after losing on the road at Arizona 24-22 to Art Vandalay. So Tag Rocket does not go anywhere this week, stays right where he is at 31. So maybe my week 1 ranking wasn't so off. But as it is, the complaint department circular file is accepting any complaints. So, but as it is, I'm not really too concerned here with Tag Rocket, as I know it's early in the season. He's a perennial playoff powerhouse in the NFC. I think he's just working on some tweaks and getting his lineups proper, and I think he'll be ready to go come week 3, as he will be taking on the San Francisco 49ers on the road of Bogey Bonacor, who's also been struggling this season, and we're going to get to him in a moment. But now we're going to head to number 30, as I'm going to move right along here. You gotta love Tag Rocket. He's gonna bounce back. We've seen it every year in this league. We have a new arrival. It's the Minnesota Vikings of KOA, who come in up 2 spots this week. They're 0-2. They lost at Philadelphia in their debut as an owner. Uh, Tough game, 30-28. So they put up a pretty good score on the road there, but just weren't able to quite pull it out. And very excited to have this new owner in the league. Germany's a hotbed for NFL football, as we'll find out soon, as I believe they're playing a game in Frankfurt next month. I think this coming week, I believe there's a game over in Germany. I think the Jaguars or somebody's playing over there. But the ELF is kicking off over there, and I think that's doing really good. I used to watch the World League games that they had over there, and the good old Rhine Fire, and some of these teams are just nuts over there. They're really good. But they're playing against, other European teams and just dominating over there. So just kind of surprised that they're not in the rugby because, with the Rugby World Cup going on, that's another hand egg sport, as, a lot of people derisively call NFL football hand egg sometimes. But yeah, I'm surprised rugby hasn't really taken off in Germany, but I think the NFL is the game they like, and, it's another derivative of, the old hand egg. So, but glad to have Andreas in the league. The Vikings will now play the Los Angeles Chargers, who are just electrifying the league right now, and that's going to be a tough one at US Bank in Week 3 for my division rivals, the Minnesota Vikings, otherwise known as the Purple. As we now go to number 29, let's find out who we have here. Oh, I just mentioned him previously when I was talking about Tag Rocket. It's the San Francisco 49ers of Bogey Bonacor checking in at number 29 at 0-2 this week after losing at the LA Rams 31-26. Kevin put the old hurting on them. Down 4 spots, the lowest rated Xboxer on the poll this week. So Bogey's looking to turn things around here in the NFL. He's got great success in other leagues, but so far just hasn't been able to find his footing here in the NFL. But next he'll be taking on Tag Rocket, as mentioned previously, on Thursday night prime time. So we'll see how that one goes for him, as he's looking to bounce back after 2 pretty frustrating losses. It's still way too early yet in these division races. It's a long season. 0-2 isn't really the end of the world in the NFL Stableford. I know in real life, the NFL, there's lots of reasons that why you go 0-2 in the real NFL. Usually it's injuries or just poor play, but in this league, since we don't really have injuries unless, you have a cramp in your thumb or something, you can bounce back pretty good if you start getting on a roll. And your handicaps can change as well as the league goes on. So once we start off with the tours again in October, some of these handicaps are going to fluctuate. So Mike might be getting some points, but we'll see. You never know. He might just be having a bad run of luck in these rounds, but I think on the tours he's been lighting it up. So we'll see what happens as we now move to number 28. Let's find out who we have. It's the New England Patriots of In Flames 47, aka Carroll, who come in at 0-2. Started off great this season with a close overtime loss, but this past week had a rough go of it at home against her division rival, the Miami Dolphins, in the AFC East, 28-25. So lost it by a field goal, and that performance is why she dropped 13 spots this week. So tough because there was a lot of fluctuation this week due to a lot of the 0-2 teams. Uh, Going toward the bottom, and then you have the 1-1 teams. I tried to stratify it based on your record, and honestly, she could easily go up after her week 3 performance at the New York Jets if she can pull that one out, because that's going to be a tough place to play, as David always plays pretty well at home. So we'll see if Carol can pull one out here and get her first win in the NFL Stableford League after a pretty successful summer league. But we'll see what happens. I think that uh, she's just probably just getting used to how things are working here. And the new owners, I always appreciate them because they're trying something brand new, and there's a lot of settings involved and a lot of different things involved. And it can be pressure. Like, it's only one. It's only round one round. You don't get to have three more rounds to figure out the course layout. You get one round, and you basically got to put your best foot forward. And I know it's really tough. I mean, you can practice, but at the same time, once the lights go on and the crowd is in the stands, you're ready to go. And sometimes it's just tough. I mean, the pressure could definitely, once you get used to it, though, like when you have a guy like Tag Rocket or who's been in the league forever, like you're used to putting that, you're used to that pressure, and you enjoy it. But I think maybe like when you're a new owner, you're just trying to work through it. And I think she'll be fine. Honestly, she's played in so many competitions. I mean, the Brew Crew is probably the top of the heap in terms of events that they play every week, and I should say maybe the froth on the top of the mug. Honestly, they're the tops because they play everything, they do anything. They have so many different types of competitions. But the thing is I've never been in the Brew Crew, and I don't know if that's ever going to change or not. I don't know. I've never gotten an invite. I don't know. Maybe I will someday. I mean, I am from the land of brew. I mean, the Brewers are my favorite baseball team, so I don't know. Maybe someday. But you know what? I have enough on my plate as it is with doing MLB and NFL for you guys. And honestly, it's just a lot of competitions and a lot of fun. But at the same time, as a father of two, married with children, yeah, it's definitely not always an easy thing to find the time. So, as the GHL can attest to a couple weeks back when I was cutting it really close on my rounds. But after that soliloquy, we're going to move on to number 27. So much for keeping this short. But that's just what happens when I start going off on tangents. It's the number 27 team of the Houston Texans. Paul, the Taft man, having a rough go of it after losing at home to the Colts 30-28. That was some Xbox on Xbox action. And unfortunately, an Xboxer had to lose, and it was Paul. Down 11 spots this week. Not really indicative of how he played, really. Like 28's a pretty good score, but it's just the fact that it's all about wins and losses in this league, and it's just there's no moral victories. And unfortunately for Paul, that's really putting him behind the eight ball, losing to a division rival in the AFC South. But he's going to look to try to get one back at Jacksonville as he goes through another division rival's turf, and is going to see if he can bounce back. Uh, it just also was a home game, and you really don't like losing your home opener. And I think the Texans, I think that was really rough for them to do that. And I think the Taft man has definitely improved. I mean, he's up in CCE now. I mean, he used to be in CCI or J when he was like in this league last year, and it's just the Razor effect. But as much as he plays, he's always going to get better. So I don't think it's like I said, it's not too late for any of these 0-2 teams to make a run in this league. If you get on a roll and rip off 5 or 6 wins in a row, you'll be right back in the thick of it. Especially with 3 wild cards in play. But now we're going to move to number 26. Another one of our new owners this year. Enjoy the handle. Enjoy the posts. It's the Washington Commanders of the Cobra Chicken, who are 1-1 after losing at Denver 27-24. No movement this week for the Commanders. They stay where they are. I really think that it might have been a defensive battle there. Like the Denver didn't even play that great, to be honest. But I think the Commanders still getting their feet wet in the league, and just ran into some issues, I think, with that field. And honestly, I think Marcus is going to be fine. The NFC East this year is kind of turned on its head. with Tag Rocket being at 0-2. So yeah, you really would have liked to maybe try to maybe pull an upset, but Denver's a tough team, and it's always a tough place to play in Mile High. So we'll see if the Commanders can get back in command in Week 3 at home against Buffalo. Oh boy, that's going to be a tough one. The cover boy for Madden coming in, probably not feeling the best after their Week 2 performance. So we'll see if the Commanders can get back in the win column, just like their W logo. As we go to number 25, we're in the top 25 now. Let's find out who it is. Well, it's a team that I know pretty well, as they are in my division. It's the Detroit Lions of CF. Detroit's 0-2. They're not the highest ranked 0-2 team, though, but they are down 7 spots this week after losing at home to Seattle 29-28. Again, I think that slide was more because it was a home game, and not so much the fact that you lost by a point. Why did he drop so much? Plus, there's also some teams that I thought maybe played a little bit better than him this past week that put up a good amount of points. So, but I'm not used to seeing CF struggle too much in this league. But there's plenty of time, as I've said before. And in Week 3, the time to get back to biting kneecaps starts against Atlanta at home. Now, if you're going to be a contender in this NFC, Atlanta is one of the teams that you're kind of measured up against. As Sean's been playing really good Stableford for a while now, so we'll see if CF can put an end to the undefeated season so far of Atlanta, as we're going to get to them later on in these rankings. But right now, it's the Lions, a little disappointing at number 25. And next, we go from one disappointment to another kind of a surprise here. But we'll see. I mean, the Buccaneers have been good in this league in the past. They were last year, but they are now at number 24 in these rankings after a tough loss at home to Chicago, which was surprising to me because the way Tampa Bay was talking, I mean, I thought they were going to be making a huge run this year, and it's still early. So, but Zuby's down 2 spots. He's 1-1 after losing 32-28 to the Bears, which doesn't help me because the Bears are in my division. But at the same time, just feel bad for Zuby because I know he was really hot after that Week 1 game and was really feeling pretty good. But then he puts up a pretty good number, but it just wasn't enough against Chicago. As next, it will be a tough matchup for Tampa on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Who boy, be ready for that one. That one could go bad in a hurry if you're not putting points on the board. So we'll see if the Tampa Bay defense can keep the Eagles out of the end zone in Week 3. As we now move to number 23, let's see who we have here. It's Turd Ferguson at number 23 and the Dallas Cowboys at 1-1. No movement from them this week in the rankings after losing a heartbreaker in overtime at home to the Jets, 34-28. The Jets had a birdie or had a touchdown in overtime that pulled that one out. Still a good effort from Turd, as I know he's new to the league. Had a shocking Week 1 performance over Tag Rocket to get him up to the spot, but then the tough loss in overtime kind of took a little bit of wind out of his sails there. Well, the wind usually comes before the turd, but as it is, the wind is still there, and I'm sure Turd will bounce back in Week 3 as he takes on the Arizona Cardinals of Art Vandelay on the road. So that's a grizzled veteran of this league, Art, and he's looking to get onto the win train again. He's on the win train right now, as I haven't mentioned him yet. but we will shortly. So that's going to be a good matchup between two PC players, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that one shakes out, as Turd is currently trying to make a run here in that NFC East, and Art has already beaten the Giants as well. So it's like the battle of two teams that have already beaten Tag Rocket. So we'll call that the Tag Rocket Invitational. We'll see if who wins that in week 3. As we now move to number 22, the best 0-2 team in the league, in my estimation. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars of Dr. Bing, who are 0-2. Mark's down 2 spots this week after a tough loss to Kansas City. Put up 30 points, and it just wasn't enough as that Chiefs offense was able to pull it out by a point in Arrowhead. So that's a tough one. Actually, no, that was at home. It was in Jacksonville. My bad. It was in Jacksonville. So even the Chiefs can score anywhere. So it's just tough, to have that good of a performance and not get the W. So really feel for Dr. Bing there, but we'll see if week 3 will cure what ails the Jaguars, as they will be taking on the Houston Texans at home. And that's another team that's a division rival that's looking to get a win as well. So, wow, 2 teams there that, man, we could have a tie maybe, perhaps. I mean, the only teams that have tied since we've done ties, I believe it was Paul. I believe it was the Texans who had the tie. And I think it was like the Colts who they tied. So if there was ever a game that could be tied, it could be this one, because it's just too tough to call with 2 0-2 teams. And the way Dr. Bing's been playing, I think the Jaguars have nothing to worry about, as he's 22nd ranked, but he hasn't even won a game yet. So I just think that he's knocking on the door, and we'll see if week 3 it finally gets answered. As we now go to number 21, Blackjack. Well, let's find out who that is. Well, it's none other than Art Vandelay and the Arizona Cardinals at 1-1, up 6 spots here this week after that big win at home against the New York Giants, 24-22. I mean, they were playing live. There's a lot of talking going on, a lot of trash talk, a lot of fun talk. So the scores tend to go down in live play, is kind of what I've noticed, because connections and just the way things are, and you're kind of in the flow of the game, and like you're focused on other stuff going on at the same time. You got the ambiance and everything. So for Art to pull that one out, kudos to him. That's why he moved up, especially when there was such a crowd of people in that stream. And at the end of the day, that's a big ranking for Art, bouncing back after that week 1 that tough loss he had earlier in the season to the Cobra Chicken. So next, week 3, it's Dallas, as we just mentioned earlier. It's Dallas week for Arizona, so there'll definitely be a lot of Cowboy fans in attendance. But we'll see if Art can send them home sad with their Cowboy hats in hand after this week 3 matchup. And now we move to number 20, a team that I'm pretty familiar with. It's the Green Bay Packers at 1-1. Down 11 well-deserved spots after choking on the road at Atlanta, 27-26, just like in real life. So the Packers had this one in the bag, seemingly, until they blew it on the front nine. They blew it on the 8th hole going into the water. It took a wrong turn, just threw it out of bounds completely, and completely just messed up that opportunity. And then pretty much blew a gimme wide open throw into the end zone for a Hail Mary. Left the receivers wide open, literally, and Love just overshot the mark. So what happens now is the Packers go to 1-1. They'll now take on the New Orleans Saints in their home opener in week 3, looking to bounce back from that disappointment. And they're locked in a pretty big battle in the NFC North right now with the team I'm going to mention in a couple spots here. But we're going to move to number 19, and this all is synergistic here, as it's the New Orleans Saints at number 19 who will be playing Green Bay this week in week 3. They stay the same this week, the Saints do, after their win at Carolina, 27-23. So they took care of business against their longtime division foe on the road. So a good win there. Uh, maybe the offense, maybe not at 100, maybe wasn't going at fulls, maybe took the foot off the gas a little bit there, but it was enough. The defense stepped up and got the Saints the W. So we'll see with the Packers coming in how things go for the Saints in week 3. One of these teams is going to be definitely probably moving up, and the other will be moving. Well, we'll see. If it's a close game, they could stay the same. You never know. I mean, that's just how it is this year. I just think with the matchups being so close, I mean, you never know. But after the Packers choke, they definitely deserve to move down. But a team that deserved to move up is at number 18. And this is a team I've played in week 1. It's the Chicago Bears of Runkabus at 1-1 after a huge week 2 victory on the road at Tampa Bay, putting up a big 32 points on the road. So Runkabus moves up 11. Basically ties, well, technically is in a tiebreaker with the Packers for the lead in the NFC North. But it's early. I mean, it's really early yet. But yeah, Runkabus is ahead now in the power rankings after that impressive performance. We'll see if they can keep moving up in week 3 as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs on the road at Arrowhead. Will Taylor Swift be there? That's the question. Will she show up on the stream? You never know. We'll see what happens as we move to number 17, getting toward the middle here. And it's a team that had some heartbreak already this season. It's the New York Jets of David D. Dix Jr. at 1-1. Got to feel good though this week after beating the Cowboys on the road 34-28 in overtime. Jumped them up 7 spots. So they're starting to soar, are the Jets. And next they'll be taking on a division rival in the New England Patriots at home. So yeah, that's a big matchup early on in the season for tiebreakers and playoff purposes. So we'll see how the Jets maneuver in week number 3, taking on the newcomer Carroll and the New England Patriots. As we now head to the middle of these rankings, we're right smack dab in the middle of it. Let's find out who number 16 is. It's the Miami Dolphins of Mr. Santa Claus. They're 1-1 after a big win at New England, 28-25. They moved up 1 spot, so very modest move, but hey, it's still a move up nonetheless. So we'll see if Miami can keep the winning going as they take on the Denver Broncos at home. Now, if you watched the games over the weekend, we know 70 points is impossible to score in NFL Stableford. I mean, unless we had like a doubler of some sort. But wow, I mean, that game was something else in real life. So I know it's not going to be that way in this, but good luck to Miami as Denver is a tough opponent, and they're definitely going to be motivated in that one to stay undefeated, as we'll get to them a little bit later on in this power ranking show. But yeah, good start for Tom. He's this new owner in the league. Don't really mention him too much, but he's a pretty solid player, and he's moved up in the tours as well, like up to like CCB now. So just quietly just does what he needs to do and gets the job done. And that's kind of the opposite of how the Miami Dolphins are. They're more flashy and more, about making big moves like they did over the weekend. So but we'll see. I mean, maybe the low-key approach is the way to go going forward for Miami, as they're right in the middle of these rankings and have a big game now on the horizon with Denver. As we now move to number 15, a team that took a little bit of a hit this week. It's the Baltimore Ravens of Be More Golf Pro. They're at 1-1. Eddie lost at the Bengals in overtime, 34-28 in one of the more surprising results of the week. The Ravens, perennial playoff team in this league, just don't seem to be all there right now. Maybe they're just having a little bit of a struggle. But it was on the road, and in the jungle is a tough environment. So, plus it's early on in the season yet, so we've seen some odd things. But the fact that the Ravens, took that L against a team that, you know, is probably 10 flights below them in TGC Tours, just goes to show you anything can happen in this league, any given Sunday. And the Ravens are going to try to bounce back this Sunday against the Colts of Indianapolis at home. That's going to be a tough one, as the Colts are playing very, very good this year under new ownership, and they're definitely making a big move this year to becoming an AFC powerhouse. And we'll see if the Ravens can get back to their winning ways in Week 3. As we now go to number 14, another team that's probably a little bit down after last week. It's the Buffalo Bills of Lofty Ando, who are at 1-1. Leon lost at home to the Las Vegas Raiders, and it was 31-27. So Penn really put it on them, and that's a tough loss. Down 9 spots, so they were one of the bigger losers of the week because of that. But you know what? Any team can come in and get hot in your house, and it just happened to be Penn in Week 2. But Leon's still a great player. He's still decently high in these rankings, and in Week 3 he'll have a chance at Washington to maybe take out some frustrations. So we'll see what happens with the Bills. As you know, they're 1-1. It's not the end of the world. That AFC East might be a hot potato this year with some of the the way things are going in that division, as there's 3 teams now at 1-1. And now we'll head to lucky number 13. As I motor on through, it's the Tennessee Titans of Sky Blue Ben. They're at 1-1 and down 11 spots after losing in Week 2 to the LA Chargers at home, 32-27. Wow. Chinatown really put it on the Titans, and that's a tough loss at home in your home opener. You really don't want to do that, but it happens sometimes. And the Titans will definitely bounce back. Sky Blue Ben was in the NFC Championship game last year, so definitely just a little bump in the road here for the Titans, as they are next going to take on the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. So right away, I mean, that's another huge opponent. That's the Super Bowl champs right there. So we'll see. I mean, this is a rematch of basically the Super Bowl between the two owners. So just kind of caught that now. So that's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out, as we did have that Browns-Cowboys Super Bowl that went the way of the Browns. I'll take things that probably won't ever happen in real life while I'm alive for 200, Alex. No, the Cowboys are much improved. They could probably get there in my lifetime, but Cleveland, who knows? Never know. They just have bad luck, especially after losing their star running back for the season. But as it is, the Titans here at Lucky 13, big game, and it's at Cleveland, the home of rock and roll. And we now move to number 12. Well, speaking of Cleveland, they're coming in at number 12 this week. It's in St. Eric at 1-1, down 9 spots after losing at Pittsburgh 28-22. They ran right into the steel curtain and got knocked the hell out. That's basically what happened there, as the Browns, not used to seeing them only scoring that many points, or 22 points, considering, it's a very generous scoring league. usually, and especially for top players like in St. Eric. So, but as I've mentioned, Tennessee next. You don't really have a lot of time to recover as the hits just keep on coming. So, and in Cleveland, they know all about the hits because it's rock and roll Hall of Fame country. So we'll see if the Browns can play to their potential here in week 3 and try to get back into the top 10 as they're down 9 spots this week and one of the bigger losers on the countdown on these power rankings. As we now move to number 11, well, it's somebody that took a big drop, but now they're back on top here. Well, not quite on top, but they got a nice bump after that big win in Buffalo. It's the Las Vegas Raiders of Penn Night. The GHL commissioner slash coach slash Discord presence is 1-1 and up 19 big spots after that win on the road at Buffalo, with everybody watching him on stream. 31-27. Yeah, with all that distraction potential, he absolutely went to town. But I think he played it with nobody watching, and he had a bunch of background noise in the background with the Raider broadcasting team. So I thought that was a really nice touch, and I think that might have been what did the job. It got him in the right frame of mind, and the Raiders were committed to excellence this week in week 2. But next, they'll have to play against the Pittsburgh Steelers, their longtime rivals from the 70s, uh, two teams that butted heads plenty while John Madden was alive, and Al Davis. So we'll see if Penn can keep the momentum going as they are at number 11 this week. And next, we're into the top 10. And we're right next door. It's the Los Angeles Rams of up, cup and up. Kevin, 1-1. Big win in the division against the San Francisco 49ers, 31-26 at home. Up 11 big spots this week. So the Rams are right back to where they should be. I mean, where they are used to being. Now tied for the top of the, actually not tied. They're sitting in second place now in the NFC West. And we'll get to the leaders of that division momentarily. But next, it's going to be an intriguing matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, the resurgent Cincinnati Bengals, on the road. So that's going to be a tough one. The Rams cannot look past them, as the Rams have already shocked the NFL Stableford League with their big win in week 2. And we're going to mention it right now, as that is where the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be in the power ranking show at number 9. They're 1-1. It's a golf bad. Mark, with that big win over Baltimore last week in overtime, is up a hefty 5 spots, validating that number 14 ranking from week 1 and moving up. I don't think anybody would have thought that with a guy whose name is iGolfBad. Obviously, that's a sandbagging candle. So now it's the Rams coming in at home to the jungle. And this is just a huge opportunity for the Bengals to just keep on moving up and keep building that playoff spot, that playoff aspiration in Cincinnati. You're not Cleveland, you're Cincinnati, as Sam Weiss would have said. But huge job here for Cincinnati. I don't think anybody had any expectations for the new owner coming in. And Mark has done everything to get everybody on board, and very impressive to see arguably the hardest division in NFL Stableford, the AFC North. I mean, he's in there with 3 top pro players, and he's a CCJ guy, and it's a testament to Mark and how he's played. And the handicap system, I'm not going to take credit for, because you still got to play it. You still got to play to your handicap, and he's been doing it. So credit to Mark, coming in at number 9. And I think is that Burrow's number? Could be. That could be some kismet there. As we now move to number 8, Yeah, it is Burrow's number. Obviously, I'm looking right at it. As we go to number 8, it's the Atlanta Falcons of Pro W Dino, aka Sean. At 2-0 after that win at home against Green Bay, 27-26. Nothing, can't take it away from him. I may have sounded salty in my talk about my team, but well-deserved win. You scored enough to win at home. That's what you got to do in this league. And Atlanta moved up 2 spots because of it, and they're now leading the NFC South also. So that's another huge thing for them early on in the season, getting those big wins early on. So as it is, the Falcons will next take on the Detroit Lions on the road. So that's not gonna be an easy one. As CF is fired up to get his first win of the year, but we'll see if the Falcons can keep soaring in Week 3 at 2-0, looking to go to 3-0. And another team looking to go to 3-0 in Week 3. It's the number 7 team, and it's none other than the team with the most Super Bowls all time, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, I think they're tied with the Patriots now, I want to say, but this team's had tons of success in the past, and it's still translating to this day as they're 2-0 and up 2 spots after beating Cleveland at home 28-22. Pat Strife is definitely locked in right now, and the Steelers are very dangerous right now. And they're playing at Las Vegas, and I mean, obviously the Steeler country travels well. I mean, it's basically Yinzer Nation everywhere you go with the Steelers. So we'll see if they can continue their undefeated season so far in Sin City, Las Vegas, against Penn Knight, who, is already probably feeling the pressure if he hasn't already. As we're at number 6. Well, it's the team that was number 1 last week. Their run at number 1 came to an end, but not because they lost. It's just because there's 5 other teams that I felt were more impressive. And it's the Denver Broncos of Austin. Why so serious? 21. Winning against the Washington Commanders at home, 27-24. Pretty impressive win, though. I mean, nevertheless, you got them by a field goal. But as it is, I mean, this league is very competitive, and would have maybe thought they would have scored a little bit more there on their home course. But sometimes you run into struggles, and each game is different. So we'll see if Denver keeps their undefeated season going, staying tied atop the AFC West as they now go in Week 3 to travel to Miami. That is a business trip, but when you go to Miami, there could be lots of distractions. So we'll see if Denver can keep their heads on straight and stay away from South Beach long enough to focus and maybe not give up 70 points. So we'll see what happens in the NFL Stableford version of this matchup in Week 3. As this is the advantage of having to do this after the NFL games. I wouldn't have been able to do any of this. I wouldn't have been able to talk about the 70-point game. So kind of cool to do it maybe after the fact sometimes. But I know everybody was waiting for this show for a while. But now we're going to head to the top 5. But good luck to the Broncos there. Hopefully you don't crap the bed too much like your actual counterparts. As we now move to number 5, the Broncos' main rival, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team, and they're 2-0, and it's Ty Lannister, Kike, who's up a big 8 spots this week after beating Jacksonville on the road, 31-30. That was an impressive win. Taylor was not at that one, but we'll see if she shows up in Week 3 at home at Arrowhead against Chicago. As the Swifties are going to be all about this one. and hoping that the Chiefs can stay undefeated and in that top 5. Again, another advantage of doing this after the fact is doing this Taylor references and just going all pop culture on you. As we now go to number 4, a team that's just quietly getting the job done. It's B-Mel's Ben and the Indianapolis Colts, who had really no expectations coming in. And they're 2-0, and they just beat the Houston Texans on the road 30-28 over Paul in a good matchup. I mean, that was 2 Xboxers going head-to-head in the same division rivals on top of that. So, big win for the Colts, proving why they deserve to be at this high, lofty ranking. But it all could come crashing down in a hurry as they play at Baltimore. That's going to be interesting because Baltimore is very fired up right now, and they definitely are not thrilled about losing that game in overtime. So we're going to see how that one plays out in week 3. As we now move to number 3, it's the attack of the Xboxers. It's Orange Aggie, the friend of B-Mel's, at 2-0, just above him in the rankings here. Up 3 spots after a big win at home against Minnesota, 30-28. Again, putting up a 30 on Xbox. Wow, you got to have magic thumbs for that. It's just impressive. You got to be razor sharp if you're going to put up these big numbers, and they're doing it. And you got to give the Xbox guys credit. And next, it's going to be maybe a vacation for the Eagles at Tampa Bay. Zuby's down a little bit after that loss in week 2. So we'll see. Again, going down to Florida, not the easiest thing sometimes, especially when the weather's this nice and it's early in the season. And it's just a whole different vibe down there. So we'll see if the Eagles can keep flying high in these rankings in week 3. And now we're at number 2. Some people know him as Beached Whale on Discord. Others may know him as Orso Grande back in the past. He now goes by the name of Weersy, one of Canada's best golfers ever. I think that's who he's named after. It's Weersy 2003 of Chris. It's Chris, also known as Chris, at 2-0 and up 2 spots, the highest PlayStation player on these rankings in the Seattle Seahawks. Up 2 spots this week after winning at Detroit, 29-28, big win in the Motor City. Seattle is looking great this year in the NFC West. They're at the top of the division. They're playing lights out every week. And they have a very good opportunity to go 3-0 at home against the Carolina Panthers. But you cannot look past those guys, as Polecat, on paper, it looks like it's a pretty lopsided matchup, number 2 versus number 32. But in the NFL Stableford League, the games are not played on paper. They're played on monitors and TV sets. So we'll see if Weersy can maybe make that jump to number 1, as we now are at the number 1 ranking. Let's find out who it is. Probably the team owner with the most requests for this ranking show, and everybody's favorite mailman. It's Chinatown 237, otherwise known as Lance. 2-0, up 11 spots. The number 1 player in this league right now, playing lights out Stableford, as the Los Angeles Chargers had won at Tennessee 32-27 on the road in an impressive as hell result to beat Sky Blue Ben at a course in England. How do you do that? That's hard to do. But he took it to him. He diced him like a razor. And that's exactly what Chinatown did. And he deserves this number 1 ranking after that impressive performance in week 2. But next, it will be at Minnesota. Can the good times keep rolling in Los Angeles at SoFi? Well, they're not going to be at SoFi. They're going to be at US Bank. So that's going to be a little bit more of a difficult environment to play in. And it's a new owner looking to get one up on the number one team. So we'll see if KOA can bring it, because we know Chinatown will. He brings it in the Discord and he brings it in the chat. So you got to love Chinatown for that. In Chinatown, you're back at number one, where you started when you were the Vegas Raiders all those seasons ago. Well, we got through it. There it is. Those are the top teams in the NFL Stableford League power rankings. All 32 teams in the NFL Stableford League power rankings after week 2. Wow. What an eclectic group we have here this year. We got the Xbox taking 3 of the 4 spots. That hasn't happened since Moneyman was in this league. I wonder whatever happened to that guy. I'm just kidding. I see those guys all the time on the Band of Brothers. Good group. But it's great to see Xbox doing well. The demise of Xbox was greatly exaggerated, and it's definitely alive and well in the NFL Stableford League power rankings, that's for sure. So, on behalf of my crew of one, myself, I want to thank you for watching and listening to this show. I look forward to bringing it to you again every week here from here on out to the end of the season. Whether it's going to be after the fact or before, we'll find out. But I was able to work in a lot of cool references because I went a little bit later on this one. So, but we'll see. Week 3 might be a little bit quicker. But again, this is Lefty79, aka Tyler, thanking you again for listening, and I will talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, everybody.